Strap in, buckle up, and get ready to lay it on the line. This is Not Speeding, Just Qualifying, a podcast that's just as fast as it sounds. What's good, family? Welcome to an all-new episode of the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. I'm your host, David Lawrence. Thank you so much for putting me in your ears today. I do greatly appreciate it. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. Go ahead, subscribe to us on YouTube and or YouTube Music. And also make sure you follow us on X, IG, and Blue Sky for all of our latest information. Forgive me for my voice a little bit today. It is post Super Bowl. Yes, I actually watched that sort of thing. By the way, shout out to the Philadelphia Eagles. Congrats to y'all on that championship. And while I'm on the topic of the Super Bowl, shout out to IndyCar and Fox for those A1 advertisements as they promote the IndyCar season coming up. Alex Palou, Pato O'Ward, Joseph Newgarden, all featured in the Super Bowl ad breaks. Awesome stuff. And a quick little fun story. At the Super Bowl party I was at, everyone was gearing up for Kendrick Lamar's halftime performance. Right as the game went to halftime, the first ad that pops up after the teams go to the locker rooms is Joseph Newgarden's commercial. We watch. Room's quiet, and then once the ad ends, you hear, "Never heard of him," and the IndyCar fan in me just goes quiet. Ay. But the guy who hosted the party did know a little bit about IndyCar, so me being me, knowing I love to talk heads off about this sort of thing, I stayed quiet. I laid back and just let him kind of explain it a little bit. At least the ad got their attention. Maybe they'll watch the Indy 500. Maybe they might watch the opening race in St. Pete. Who knows? But as an IndyCar fan, just getting casuals to even talk about who was that I just saw on my TV for 45 seconds. IndyCar, Fox, I give y'all a lot of credit. Big win. Very big win. I'm ready to go, and we got an exciting episode for you guys today. Let's start this episode with a new segment that we are going to be doing throughout the rest of the season. I'm calling it Up to Temp. It's basically going to be my recap of the weekend's motorsports action gone by. Just a quick little recap of the events, winners, top 3, podiums, top 5, depending on the series, how everything goes. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce you guys to 3 series I have not talked about on this podcast yet. You will likely hear about them in the future. But let's start with Monster Energy Supercross. Known around the world as one of the best shows on dirt and on 2 wheels, stadium, high-flying, motorcycle racing, dirt bikes at the highest order is absolutely amazing. Real quick, they've had 4 rounds so far this season. Chase Sexton, former series champion and championship leader, the first race at Anaheim at the start of January and the last race in Glendale, just outside of Phoenix last week. Eli Tomac won round 2 in San Diego. And defending series champion Jet Lawrence of Australia, no relation by the way, just to make sure I clarify that, won round 3, which was the second race at Anaheim. However, in Glendale in round 4, big story. The defending champion tore his ACL in the last race of the Triple Crown round in Phoenix. And the defending champion is out for the rest of the 2025 AMA Monster Energy Supercross Championship. Safe to say, this is going to be a wide open season. With that being said, series heads to Tampa for round 5 of the championship. Took place Saturday night. It was also the opening round of the 250 East Division. David, what is 250 East? Let me back up a second. Supercross has 2 divisions. There is the 450 standing for 450cc, as in the power displacement. That's the highest class in Monster Energy Supercross. Then there's a second tier 250, basically 250cc. But there's a little bit of a twist with the 250 class. The 250 is split up geographically. There's a East Championship and a West Championship. The first 4 rounds of the championship been held on the West Coast. When we get back to the West, I'll fill you guys in on that one then. However, on what's considered the East Coast, so, well, Tampa, obviously. So now we get the 250 East riders. They'll get at least the next 2 races on the 450 schedule. So Saturday marked the opening round for the 250 East Championship. And the rider who took first blood in the championship, Britain's Max Anstey. Max has been a championship contender the last 2 seasons. He was 3rd in 23, 5th in 24, but the 31-year-old is saying he is ready to make a charge, made a statement, won his heat, and then went on to win the 250 feature Saturday night. Daxton Bennett finishes 2nd. Cam McAdoo finished 3rd. Defending champion Tom Vial of France only could muster 5th on his KTM. Then on to the 450, which had an unbelievable main event, and it was capped off with a first-time winner, Malcolm Stewart of Haines City, Florida, which is an hour east of Tampa, and the younger brother of former series champion James Bubba Stewart taking the fight to Chase Sexton, passing the championship leader as he fell with 2.5 minutes to go in the race, and going on to take his first career feature win in the 450 class. Cooper Webb 2nd for Yamaha, Jason Anderson 3rd for Kawasaki, and Malcolm Stewart riding for Husqvarna. Yes, those guys who make lawnmowers also make dirt bikes. Go figure. Sexton, despite his 5th place finish after the fall, retains his championship lead over Cooper Webb by 5 points. Series heads to Detroit next Saturday, February 15th. That race will air on Peacock. The second series I want to introduce you guys today is Formula Regional Oceania. All right, little background on this. Formula Regional Oceania is a winter series for young drivers who are trying to get seat time in their off-season before their main championships begin during the natural racing season calendar of March, April to October, and so on and so forth. The series takes place in New Zealand, which ironically, I say this is a winter series, takes place during New Zealand's summer. These drivers have the opportunity to earn super license points, which are needed to be eligible to race in Formula One if he or she so desires. Drivers in Formula One have come through this series, and the list includes Lando Norris, Liam Lawson, Yuki Tsunoda, and Lance Stroll. This season was dominated by Britain's Arvin Lindblad. Lindblad, right before the start of the Formula Regional Oceania Championship, was signed by Red Bull's Formula One to driver development program, easy for me to say, and he came in and cleaned house, taking the series championship, dominating with 6 wins from the 15 races over the course of the 5-round championship. Don't think this is just all foreigners. There were some Americans. 5 drivers donning the red, white, and blue were on the grid for the entire season. And tops of the class was St. Pete's Nikita Johnson. He'll be racing some junior Formula Series over in Europe this year. But this past weekend, in the final round of the championship, he took victory in the second race of the weekend. He was second in the championship going into the final race of the weekend, which I will talk about more in a moment. Unfortunately, a subpar result saw him knocked down to 3rd in the final season standings. But attaboy Nikita, and we look forward to seeing you on the European tour this season. Can't wait to follow you and see how you do. Oh, by the way, Nikita's all of 16 years old. Yikes. And I only say yikes because of my age. If you know, you know. But I mentioned the last race of the season. The last race of the Formula Regional Oceania Championship is the New Zealand Grand Prix. It's one of only 2 national Grand Prix that's not part of the Formula One calendar, the other being the Macau Grand Prix, which is a massive race on the Formula 3 schedule. The race was won by Supercross champion Will Brown. He finished ahead of the top 2 in the overall championship, New Zealand's Zach Scholar and Arvid Lindblad, who finished the race in that particular order. Arvin will be going to Formula 2 when the season starts in Australia, by the way, in March, while Will Brown, of course, will be heading back to Australia to defend his supercar title. And rounding out our weekend recap for this week is the Asian Le Mans Series. To best describe Asian Le Mans Series, think of IMSA, but replace GTP with slower LMP3 class cars. You combine GTD into one all GT3 class, and all three classes are pro-am driver lineups, which means it's a mixture of professionals and amateur drivers. The series has 3 doubleheader weekends across the season. All 6 races are 4 hours in length. The first doubleheader took place at Malaysia in December. This weekend, there was 2 4-hour races in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. In the LMP2 division, Algarve Pro Racing of Portugal swept the weekend. Both of their cars that they entered in the championship took 1 win apiece. On Saturday in LMP3, the Czech Breton Racing team took the victory. The British RLR M Sport team took the spoils of victory on Sunday. And then in GT, we got a lot of American familiarity here. Two Seas Motorsports, based out of Qatar, the team at least, took the victory Saturday in their Mercedes, and some very familiar names if you're familiar with IMSA racing. Ben Barnicoat and Parker Thompson, who race for Vassar Sullivan Lexus in IMSA, were part of the team, and American Anthony McIntosh, who races with Vanderstur Racing in their Aston Martin, were the winning trio on Saturday. Sunday, victory was captured by the American Windward Racing team, who has professional German Mercedes factory driver Lucas Stoltz on their lineup, giving Mercedes a sweep of the weekend in the GT class. The Asian Le Mans Series will conclude their season this weekend with 2 4-hour races at the Yas Marina circuit in the Emirate of Abu Dhabi. This weekend will be crucial because we will crown the champions in each of our 3 classes, and there's a very special prize for each of those class champions. Each champion will receive an invitation to compete in the 24 Hours of Le Mans in June. By the way, one thing I did forget to mention, the Automobile Club de l'Ouest, the same Automobile Club de l'Ouest that promotes the World Endurance Championship in the 24 Hours of Le Mans, also runs the Asian Le Mans Series, hence the big significance of the championship and why a lot of European teams take the opportunity to go over to Asia to run this series, basically another opportunity for them to qualify for Le Mans. That concludes our Up to TEMP segment, basically a quick recap of the weekend gone by, or tried to make it as quick as I could. Congratulations to all the winners this past weekend. If you have been under a rock, it is Daytona week. NASCAR is fully back, and it is time to preview NASCAR's top 3 series. On today's episode, I will preview the 2025 NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series. And boy, where do I begin? Let's start with the schedule. This year's schedule will see 25 races up from 23. Amongst the changes, there'll be 3 road courses this year. While COTA is out, the Truck Series will debut at the Charlotte Roval in October. They will return to Watkins Glen in August, and for the first time ever, one of NASCAR's big 3 national touring series will race at Lime Rock Park. The NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series will make their debut at Lime Rock on June 28th, and that race will be on Fox. Fox will have 3 broadcast windows for the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series on Big Fox. In addition to Lime Rock's June 28th date, you will also see the June 7th truck return to Michigan. And before that, the first ever NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series race broadcast on network television in prime time Friday night, March 21st in Homestead, Miami. The balance of the season will be on FS1, which, by the way, will include the return of Rockingham Speedway for the first time since 2013. And that will be the third and final race of the Triple Truck Challenge, which actually has been moved up from early summer, as has been in previous years, up to spring this year. Rockingham, as I mentioned, will be the third and final leg of the Triple Truck Challenge. The first two legs will be Martinsville and Bristol. Now that we've talked a little bit of schedule, let's talk teams. A few changes. Spire will actually be adding a fourth truck, which essentially will be a second rotating all-star truck, if you like. Front Row Motorsports expanding. They'll add a second full-time truck. I'll tell you who fills that seat in a moment. And the Ream Brothers team will add a third truck. That one will also have a rotating driver lineup. Speaking of drivers, let's talk about some new faces and returning faces. Coming up to the Truck Series, Tony Breidinger, Gio Ruggiero, and Andres Perez de Lara will all be coming up from ARCA. Breidinger and Ruggiero will be driving for Tricon, while De Lara will be driving for Spire. Returning to the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, Daniel Hemrick will be coming back from Cup to mount a full season charge with McAnally Hilgeman Racing, while Chandler Smith comes back from the Xfinity Series to race that new second truck for Front Row Motorsports. Also interesting of note, Frankie Muniz will be coming from Xfinity. He'll be joining the Ream Brothers in his rookie NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series season. And of course, that so big cast of returning characters led by defending champion Ty Majeski, his teammates Matt Crafton, Ben Rose, and Jake Garcia. At Tricon Garage, Tanner Gray and Corey Heim. Spire Motorsports retains Raja Caruth. Caden Honeycutt goes from part-time to full-time with Nice Motorsports, reuniting with the returning Matt Mills. Lane Riggs is back at Front Row Motorsports. Tyler Ankrum and Jack Wood return to McAnally Hilgeman. Wood did a partial season last year, but he'll have the full season in McAnally Hilgeman's fourth truck. And of course, Grant Enfinger back again after another championship 4 appearance. You'll be surprised, after all that action, only 9 different winners emerged in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series in 2024. And with the names I just mentioned, we should easily be able to exceed that number this year. The biggest story I feel that will come up with the Truck Series this year: will the racing be any cleaner? The last few years, the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series has gained a reputation. Not only are they tough trucks, but the racing has been far rougher than we've expected. There's been a lot more crashes, and the respect of the younger drivers to the veterans has been called into question more times than people would like. Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, other Cup veterans have all questioned how the Truck Series has gone from class to classless the last few seasons. So hopefully these new rookies, and hopefully with some of these veterans coming back for a shot at championship glory in the series, maybe that will change the tune of some others this year. And hopefully we'll have a lot better Truck Series season. As far as drivers, I'm looking at 3. The first, you gotta look at Corey Heim. Corey has been one of the most dominant Truck Series drivers over the course of the last 2 seasons. Back-to-back championship 4 appearances to match with 9 wins. Combine that with Scott Zipadelli returning as his crew chief for 2025, I definitely think this has to be the year. Third time's the charm. Corey Heim and Tricon finally get it done. The second driver who I'm going to be looking at to make a big splash this year, Daniel Hemrick. He's jumping into a truck that was, with Christian Eckes at the helm, the most consistent truck all season. 4 wins, 15 top 5 finishes in 23 races, and oh, by the way, that aforementioned championship 4 berth with Eckes, who has now graduated to the Xfinity Series for 2025. Hemrick has some very big shoes to fill, and if there is anyone who is anxious to get rid of this "he can't win" label, Hemrick's a guy, and he already has said in off-season interviews after he announced the deal to go to McAnally-Hilgeman for 2025. He wants to join a team that's hungry, and he wants to be able to win races. He's got that in that 19 team. Third driver I'm looking at to really make a big splash in the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series, Raja Karuth, Aspire Motorsports. Raja had a pretty solid rookie season, full season in 2023. He stepped up, got that win, got the playoffs in 2024. Didn't quite make the championship four. Back in familiar territory in that Spire 71, combined with a new crew chief in Kevin Bono Mannion, former Daytona 500 winning crew chief, and the same crew chief with which Raja made his truck debut back in 2022. All the ingredients are there for Raja to have a standout season in the Truck Series this year. The only question we now have left is, how will the season play out? Starting Friday night in Daytona, we'll all tune in and gain answers to the questions. Well, guys, that concludes this episode of the Not Speeding, Just Qualifying podcast. Again, thank you guys so much for putting me in your ears today. I do greatly appreciate it. Just a reminder, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel or our YouTube music channel. You'll be able to get the episodes either way. Also, make sure you follow us on X, IG, and Blue Sky at the handle NSJQ Podcast. You can also follow me on my socials, which I will put the handles to in the description box below this video. I will talk to you all again soon, family. Until then, I'm David Lawrence. Remember, you're not living life to the fullest until you're going flat out. So long, everyone.